The Model Shop live scale modeling show is brought to you by Tenant Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenant Controls brings your models to life. And by HDA ModelWorks, suppliers of scale model lighting products. The Model Shop live scale modeling show is brought to you by Tenant Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenant Controls brings your models to life. And by HDA ModelWorks, suppliers of scale model lighting products, detail parts, and complete model kits. Visit HDAModelWorks.com today.
Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to episode 112 of the Model Shop Live Scale Modeling Show. I'm your host, Boyd Crompton. It's a really hot one here in the shop tonight. I put my headset on tonight with this different microphone, so hopefully you guys won't be able to hear all the fans that I have running in the shop and distract everyone. So we'll try to soldier on through it. It's been a scorcher here the last couple days down in San Antonio. I hope you guys are a little bit cooler where you're at. I hope everybody had a really nice 4th of July holiday. We had a great time here, and we're doing some modeling here on the bench tonight. We've got a great show in store for you guys tonight. We're going to be kicking things off like usual with a visit over to our Model Shop Google community homepage and have a look at all the updates of what everybody's working on over there. And then we're going to take you on the bench tonight. I've been working on this Randi Cooper Galileo shuttlecraft kit. I put out a video on the TrekWorks channel earlier this week showing a little bit of the work I'm doing on this, and I'm going to be doing a little bit more lighting work on this tonight, so we're going to share that with you guys on the bench. And I've got some great new products that came in from our friend Jerry at HDA ModelWorks that I want to share with you guys. We've got a really cool little set of lights that just came out. These are some lights that I've actually been using on the Shuttlecraft Galileo build here. We've got some flashing RGB type LEDs, some RGB type SMDs, which are really cool because they're super miniature and they emit those multi-changing colors. They'll be really cool for using in a lot of your model builds out there, especially on your sci-fi kits. And then we've got some really nice stuff that came out from Green Strawberry. We have a Photo-Etch set here for the Enterprise refit, and also a Arboretum kit for the Enterprise refit in 1/350 scale. So we'll pop these open and have a look and see what we get in these kits. I want to say a big thanks to Jerry for sending those out to us to have a look at them. They look to be really, really nice quality kits, and for you people out there who like to get everything and everything for the 350 scale Enterprise refit, when you build yours, this will fit the ticket really nicely. I'm really impressed with the quality of the parts that we have here. So we'll take a look at those in just a little bit. We're going to kick things off like usual and head over to our Model Shop Google page. Let me bring up the page here, and we'll have a look at what everybody's been doing. We've got some really busy modelers over there. You can see we have Chris Farrell here, who's building this 1/700 scale Titanic. Always love to see a nice Titanic build. I'm kind of hoping one of these days somebody will put out a 1/200 scale version of that kit. There's been kind of a wave of 200 scale ships being released by Trumpeter and a few of the other companies out there, so it'd be great to see them do a Titanic in that scale. Let's have a look at Chris's work here. Looks to be really nice. Looks like it's got a nice display stand that it comes with, and it looks like he might be doing some lighting on this one. He's got some holes that you can see drilled out in for the portholes in the hull here, so that'd be really cool to see. Very nice job on that, Chris. Up here at the top, I placed a little comment. We discussed this on last episode of the show to get some feedback on our upcoming 48-hour group build. We're going to be choosing a subject, and I threw out the idea of a police subject and asked you guys what you thought, and we got quite a bit of feedback on that. So we'll go through that towards the end of the show here, doing our Q&A session and our shout-outs, and discuss that a little bit and see what everybody feels like we should do. So again, we're looking at probably the second or third week of August to start that. It'll start on a Friday and will end on a Sunday night. So you'll have the entire weekend to work on it. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Here's some more work featured on our page here. This is from John Hunt. This is a cool diorama that he did of the Predator versus the T-Rex. So let's have a look at this one. As you can see, John did a wonderful job on his painting here. Created this diorama scene. Looks like the Predator's got his hands full there. Really cool, and shooting in an outdoor setting like that adds an extra bit of realism to this. Fantastic work on that, John, and a great imagination to create that. Thanks for sharing that with us. We have Derek Sabera here with his speeder bike. Let's have a look at this. Beautiful job on this, and I really like the miniature small diorama for a base, just enough to add some detail to it and give you an idea of the terrain that it might be operating on. That's really, really cool. And as usual, Derek did a fantastic job on his painting and weathering and detail on the figure there. That is really cool. Very realistic work here on the canvas luggage rack, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. Very nice. And here Derek's taking us through some of the build-up process of this. Lots of textures and lots of detail on the base. Getting the kit parts all ready to go there. So awesome job on that, Derek. Thanks for sharing that one with us. And moving on down here, we've got Omar, who's got a work in progress here of the classic funny car, the Chi-Town Hustler. This was a famous race car from back in the day. Doing a great job on his paint work there. Got really nice gloss on this. I love that metallic maroon finish he's got on this and all the decal work. As you can see, these race car models have a lot of detail with the chassis and engine and all that. It's looking gorgeous. Great job on that so far, Omar. Can't wait to see you finish that one up. Oh, looks like the page just updated while we were rolling back there. Let's see what we've got here. Star Siege players working on looks like a Gundam figure there. And here we have James Schulenburg with his completed TOS Battlestar Galactica. Let's have a look at this. Always did love that ship. Wow, got the engine lighting going on, the lighted landing bays there. Very nice job. Love the little red details here on the sides of the landing bays. Great job on that one. The Galactica never looked better. And let's see. We have from Carla C. We have some X-Wings here. Looks like that one's still a work in progress, but really nice job on the lighting. And let's see, MVHEW, we've got the Mars Communications Satellite, and he's working on a, what is this? Revell 132 scale Messerschmitt BF 109. We'll have a look at what he's got going on here. Pretty interesting model there. I think this might be the old Valkyrie bomber down here. I'm not too sure. Some of you plane experts out there might recognize that one. That was a huge airplane. And here's the Messerschmitt going together. And we have Leona Timber Company talking about this 1927 Model T Ford kit that he's working on, and he has a little mention here that when he started out as a youngster, this was the very first kit that he built, and he's going back to revisit that. That's always fun. Looks to be a nice little kit. Very cool to see that. And Greg Byron with a TIE Interceptor and TIE Bomber kit being put together. Here we have PJC 2.0 with his Into Darkness Enterprise. I'm sorry I can't play it. If I click that, it's going to be a video and it won't play very well here on this display. But you can hop by over on the page and check that out if you're interested in looking at that one. And here we have Lee Chambers working on, he's building up a kit, kind of a kit bash to recreate the Russian gunship helicopter seen in the Rambo film. I always thought that was an interesting bird. Let's see what we've got going on here. As you can see, it was just absolutely stacked with weapons. Got some lighting going on. Some kind of a servo action there, some moving flight control surfaces, it looks like. Oh, it's motorized, so maybe he's got the rotor turning on this one. It's a really tiny electric motor. For the tail rotor, it looks like. That should be really cool. Awesome, looking forward to seeing more of that one. Curtis Daniels is working on this. Looks to be a British, possibly a Typhoon. It's kind of hard to tell. The nose looks like it might be a Typhoon. World War II fighter plane. Pretty cool. And we have Clint Llewellyn that finished up his Batman and Robin kits from Mobius Models. Great job, Clint. Really looks good. Looks like you got those colors down that we were talking about a couple weeks ago. Nice little tribute to Adam West, who we lost unfortunately here a couple of weeks ago. And Robin, the Boy Wonder. I love the fact that they have these bases that come with these, and once you build all these characters, they all kind of fit together, and I think they're supposed to form the bat symbol. Nice shading on the rocks and everything there too, Clint. You're really getting that stuff down. Good job. And moving along here, let's see what else we have. We have Omar just finished up this really nice kit. This is the 1/1000 scale Phase 2 Enterprise from UGH Models. This is a really nice little kit. It's made from solid resin, so it's a little bit difficult to do any kind of lighting on it, but you can see Omar did his best to kind of simulate the lights, and he did some Aztec panel work. It's a little bit hard to see here, but he's got the saucer done up with the Aztec paneling and really did a nice job on it. Beautiful little display. I want to get a hold of this kit myself. It's the missing link for the between the original television series Enterprise and the Enterprise refit we saw in Star Trek the Motion Picture, and I'm glad that somebody finally mass produced this kit. And the cool thing about it is that since we never actually saw this ship other than some kind of concept drawings for it, you can kind of be a little creative yourself as far as the color scheme you go with. The kit does come with two different sets of markings where you have the sort of updated font for the Enterprise name and numbers and everything that we saw on Star Trek the Motion Picture, or you can kind of go back towards the way it looked on the original television series, and it looks like Omar did a little bit of both here. Kind of mix and match a little bit, which is always fun. So you can kind of, build your own version of the ship there, which makes that pretty cool with this little kit. And again, we did a couple kit reviews on those UGH kits here a while back on the show, and they're just really high quality, really nice kits. Here we have John Hunt working on the Vulcan Shuttle. I believe he said here that he's the kit on the right is a kit that he built way back in the day, and now he's having at it again. Now that he's improved his skills and got a little bit more mature, and he's doing lighting and some other updates on this second build that he's doing. So that's always fun, like we mentioned earlier, to go back and revisit some of those kits from your past and have at them again and see what you've learned since then. I did hear through the grapevine this week, since I'm seeing this Reliant kit, that Polar Lights Round 2 has now re-released the 537 scale Reliant kit, and the decal set's also out for it, so those have been out there waiting since that kit's been discontinued for a couple of years. It's now available again, so get them while you can. The prices went way through the roof on those on eBay and Amazon, so it'll be nice to see if that kit's affordable again. Here we have, good, we have some pictures of PJ's Enterprise that we can show you. This is the Into Darkness version from Revell. I believe it's 1/500 scale. It's got some really cool lighting going on it. That has been proven to be a very popular kit. Now we've heard that Mobius Models has the license for the Kelvin Universe stuff, so we should be seeing some really cool new kits coming out from them pretty soon. Word is the USS Franklin that we saw in Star Trek Beyond will be their first ship release, and I believe it's going to be 1/350 scale. Here we have another completed Gundam by Chris Farrell. You can see how detailed these are. The Geordie model is starting up his Avro Lancaster, another famous World War II bomber flown by the RAF. Dan Harris with a Colonial Viper. We'll take a look at this one. Beautiful job on the paneling there, Dan. Really nice. Got all the panel work highlighted there. Looks like he's starting some weathering on it. Very clean looking build. Beautiful job. I think he's got some lighting going on there too. Love the chip details here on the canopy. Very nice work. We've got T Commando. Looks like he's refurbishing a model for a friend here that was damaged or something like that. It's a 350 scale Enterprise refit. He's doing some repair work on that for his friend. Scott Thompson continuing working on his Reliant kit bash. This was an interesting one that I saw. I'm not sure who produces. This kit's from Morningstar Miniatures. He says it's a bit early for Halloween, but this is The Thing, the classic John Carpenter movie. One of my favorites. Not for the squeamish, but really cool. Did a beautiful job on it. Looks just like it. I'm hoping to see a lot more of these Thing-based kits. I know there's a nice McCready figure kit out there where he's holding the blowtorch. Might be from the same company. But wonderful job on that. Very realistic. TJ Blackwell working on the 1537 scale Enterprise refit kit there. And Jason Webster working on the Zvezda 12700 scale Star Destroyer. From what I understand, the Revell kit has hit the United States. It's starting to show up in hobby stores here in the U.S. I saw the best price I've seen so far was online at Warren's Hobbies. It's a place that I order a lot from. I saw it for $116 with free shipping, so you guys might want to check that out if you're looking for one of these. That was the best price I've seen so far. That's actually quite a bargain. This is an absolutely huge kit. These pictures don't do this justice at all, but gonna have to get one of these myself. Looks like he's gonna be doing some lighting. He's doing his weathering detail on it now. I'm sure these are going to be tremendously popular, especially at that huge scale. George Bramble working on his 1350 scale refit. He posted some nice pictures of the Aztec paneling work that he's doing here. He started out on the belly where most people do. You kind of start off here in the bottom and start working your way around the sides and on the bottom and then up onto the pylons. It's a very lengthy and tedious process, but it's well worth it in the end. So congratulations on a good start there, George. And we'll see how much more we get here before we get back into some stuff we've already shown. But I'm really glad to see everybody active and busy here on the page. That's what it's all about, sharing your work. Here we've got Tag, our good friend Tag, who's got his video he updated on his YouTube channel, Tagamo Model Works, of his AT-AT. This is another kit that I want to get my hands on. This is a really nice size at 1/144 scale. And usual Bondi quality. We have Ken Zimmerman doing the classic Beatles Yellow Submarine. You can see he's got a little video you can click on there. Heath Tompkins working on a, let's see if he says what this is. It's some kind of a sports car. I can't quite tell what that is. It looks great anyway, Heath, if you're watching. Can't wait to see that all finished up. Greg Bryan just picked up a couple new kits, the Mercury Redstone kit and the Bondi TIE Interceptor. More work from Scott Hazzard, Aussie Trekkie, on his Kenworth. He's got, we'll have a look real quick here, he's got the pinstriping work. He's done all this work. This is all paint work and not decals, so he's putting a lot of effort into this build. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And Scott probably has a video of that on his YouTube channel if you want to follow along and see how he did all that work. Another Star Destroyer in progress with some fiber optic lighting. And I think we're getting back into some of the stuff we showed a couple weeks ago. So we'll close this segment up. I want to say again, big shout out and thank you to everybody that posts on our page. We really appreciate that. There's nothing better than inspiring others and giving other people ideas and sharing your building tips and techniques. That's what these communities are for, so we really appreciate that. Let me go back and get on the camera here. So there you have it, guys. Some really cool stuff, some really nice work going on, and we'll have more of that for you on our next episode. We're going to take a quick little break here, and we're going to come back with some on the bench work. I'll just give you guys a quick peek here. This is the Randy Cooper Galileo kit. This is the resin kit that's been out for a few years. I've been working on this last on and off the last week or so here. I've got my kind of my primary paint job done on the upper half here, and we're going to be doing a little bit of lighting on this. In the video that I put out on this week, I explained some of the stuff I'm doing to it. I got a little bit more done, and we'll get you a little bit caught up on that here tonight, and then we'll have a look at the stuff from Green Strawberry. So sit tight, everybody. We'll come back in just a few minutes and get onto the bench here. See you in a second. Okay, everybody, we're back with you again, and I've got my little Galileo here that I've been working on. Wanted to share with you guys a little update since the video that I put out. We're also going to talk about these SMDs that I got in from Jerry this week, which I've been using on this build. Some of you guys might not know that he's recently started carrying some updated SMDs, which actually are RGB type SMDs, which before we only had access to SMDs or LED type RGBs that were fairly big. These are super tiny like we're used to with SMDs, and yet they still do the multicolor changing effect. We've got a couple different versions here. We've got a fast changing color one, we've got a slow changing color one, and we've got one that does both. Starts out slow and then goes fast. We've also got some flashing type SMDs that just basically blink at a steady rate, which I've incorporated into this build on a couple places. I'm going to run this little video here for you really quick so you can see the work that I did on the interior of this and incorporating some of these new components from Jerry. I'll pull that up here really quick. As you can see, we've got the interior flight console lighted there with the color changing RGBs, and again these are the SMD types. I'm going to pull a couple of these out of the bag here in a minute and show you how they work. These are already pre-wired with a resistor on there, so you hook them straight up. And here on these wall computers I used the basic flashing type SMDs. This is before I fixed there's a couple little light leaks there. You can see I fixed those since then. But they worked out really good. I did all the little wall-mounted computers there with those. So that's worked out really well. The beauty of that is that they're super, super tiny, and you can fit these into small places. So they'll be ideal for using on, things like flight consoles and instrument panels and things like that. So really cool stuff. And Jerry's always staying on top of the most newest and latest cutting edge technology that's out there. Well, here you can see I have the Galileo, and I've been working on it since the last video that I put out, I think on Tuesday or so. And I've got the top half painted here. I've basically put on all the decals and put one coat of clear on this. You can kind of see the gloss. I'm going to actually leave it this glossy too. I really like this. I saw Randy Cooper himself had actually built his up and had it done this way, so I think I'm going to go with that. But what I'm doing is I'm working on getting all my wiring routed through this, and since on our last episode we talked a little bit about lighting techniques and the things that I was doing on the 1/350 scale Enterprise I'm building for my client, I thought I would show you a little bit of what we have to do to get wiring worked in. Now this model is completely solid cast in resin, so there's no provision for lighting, so you have to get pretty creative as far as working in your wiring and figure out how you're going to route everything. And I really wanted to, like I do on a lot of my builds, I like to try to hide all the wiring as much as possible. So I'm going to take the lid off here and show you guys basically what I did here is for these wall mounted computers and up here on the ceiling and all these places, I just took a Dremel tool and cut a trench along the wall here and ran my wiring back through there, and I made these little covers that go over it. Same thing for down in the bottom here where the wiring comes up to the front of the flight console. I brought it along this side wall here and had to trench all that in so that the wiring wasn't exposed. And then I just took a piece of sheet styrene. I guess I can show you a better angle on this. Piece of sheet styrene that I cut out to match this and laid that on the wall over top of it to hide all the wires. You can see I've got them all tucked in up here at the front. At the back of the console, this was all open here, so I just took sheet styrene and boxed all this in and CA'd it all together so that we don't have any light leaks coming out, inside the cockpit. It's all sealed up on the top and the bottom. And then I ran the wiring back through here. There's this bulkhead that's inside the shuttle, the rear wall. So the wiring comes out here in the back, and I'll have my control board and all my wiring terminals meet each other right in here. Once that's all sealed up, you won't be able to see that. Now I had to, the biggest part I had to figure out was how to get I'm going to light the engine nacelles on this We're going to have the little spinning Bassard effect and all that. And I had to figure out how to get the wires from the engine nacelles, all the way up through here and then back inside to where my control board's going to be. So basically what I did is I trenched out the bottom side of these wings, and you can see right here I have a trench on this side, I have a trench on this side, and when we take our nacelle and put it up on here like this, you can see I've drilled a little hole, and my wiring is going to come out of that. It's going to basically meet up with this little trench right here, if I can turn it far enough. And once we glue the nacelle on and everything, we'll lay our wiring down nice and flat and glue it all in place there and get it tucked up nice and neat, and then we'll putty over that. It'll probably take 3 or 4 times of puttying over it, and we'll putty over that and sand it flush to where it's hidden, and we'll have our wires routed up to the inside where they'll meet up against the control board. So that same thing's going to happen here on both sides. So that's the plan for that. Here, as I showed on the video that I put out this week, if you guys happen to catch it, I had actually cut these in half because they're completely solid resin, and I needed to have them hollow so I could pass wiring all the way through. I'm lighting both the nacelle Bassard here with the spinner up front, and also at the tail we're going to have these little globes here at the back kind of glowing kind of softly. And so to get wiring through there, I had to open this up, and I didn't have a drill bit long enough to go all the way through this. This is about 9 inches long or so. And so I cut it in half and made marks to where it was indexed and made sure I had them both, matched. So when I put it back together, that they would match up and fit together. You can see I've just glued them back together and puttied them up, and you can't even tell. So I started routing the wires through there, and you're going to make these sharp turns here. You got to come through here and then come up like this. So I just made this little hook out of some solid brass wire that I had here, and I basically pull the wires through, end to end, and then I reach in here with this hook and grab the one I want and just pull it straight up through that hole, because it's really hard to make that 90-degree turn. If I'm going down this way, I can push them in through the top and go towards the front, which I'm going to do with the wires that go to the spinner up here at the front, so that's not going to be a problem. But a couple other ones I had to pull all the way through, so this little hook worked out really great for that. So you got, like I said, you got to get kind of creative once in a while on making some of this stuff work, because it's a really sharp turn that has to make. Now what I'm doing here is, you can see I've got this one wire going down in here, and it's just a black wire. Now that's going to be a ground. On the other one here, on the this would be the port side, which has a little step. You can see there's a difference between these. This one has a little step, and so it lines up with the door opening there. I was thinking about, I wanted to have the wires completely hidden on this, and this is going to be sitting on a base. So I thought, well, I could run the wires, this is the only place here at the bottom with these little landing legs, and there's also like a tripod, a little third leg in the back there that touches the ground. Otherwise there's a gap in between the shuttle and the ground, so I didn't want to see any wires. So I thought, well, the one at the rear is kind of thin and not a lot to work with. So I decided that I'll have my power coming in here through the front. And at first what I was going to do is I was going to run the wires through this leg and down through this landing pad and into the base. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, I'd like to have this so I could pick it up off the base and show it off if I wanted to. So I came up with this idea. What I did is I put some conductive pads on the bottom of this, and I've got a wire soldered to it on the inside, and that's basically this wire that I showed you here. On this side we've got red, which will be positive, and the other side it's black for ground, as you can see. And these, I haven't glued these in place yet. These can pop out. We've got our wire connected there. So basically what I'll be doing is making 2 more points of contact like that on whatever platform I mount this on, my base or whatever, and my power leads will be coming to that with a with a power switch. And so when I set the model down on top of it and it makes contact, the model will power up. Everything will work. Now that will work fine, because we don't have any separate buttons for any special effects or anything going on in this. So basically when I turn on the power, everything's going to work. The flight console is going to light up, all the lighting, the engine lighting and everything all comes on at once. So with that type of an application, this will work out really well. And what I also did here is I just used some really small diameter brass tubing, and I replaced the pegs that were molded onto these parts here that were made out of resin, and they were solid. And these are going to be a lot more solid too. I was kind of worried that they might be kind of flimsy. These are just slightly bigger diameter than what was there, but nobody will ever be able to tell. I mean, they look almost exactly the same. And so if I pull this wire back here a little bit, but we can tuck these in here. I haven't glued them yet because I've got to paint them, and I also want to figure out exactly how far they're supposed to be, sticking out, so we have the model sitting nice and level. But so there's an idea for you if you haven't tried that before. I actually did this on a model for a client a long time ago. The little Atreides trader ship from that movie Dune. He wanted to have it sitting on his base, and he wanted to be able to pick it up and everything, and that worked out really well. So I decided to do that same thing here, and so that should work out really good. So as I said, we've got our Bassards up here. I'm getting that kit from Ralph at Tenna Controls, and he told me that there's either 4 or 5 wires that come through. So when I get the board here, it should be here this week, I'll figure out, how many wires I need to pull through and everything, but that's our plan for that. And it should work out pretty good. We're just going to use, I made these little, we're going to light the tail up here with a 5mm white, and you can see I made a little bracket here to mount it out of just regular sheet styrene. This is just some really thin styrene that I cut kind of a rough little circle out there, and I drilled a hole in the center of it. And that's going to hold our LED to where it sits basically flush in here, something like that. And our little globes go over the top of that. And then the board itself is about a 1/2-inch round board with the little SMDs mounted on it that rotates. That'll fit flush inside here at the front. And we'll pull our wires through and we'll be all set. So there you go on that. Now, in doing my testing here, I've got the lighting at the back, which this little area right in here is supposed to be lit. I have one strip of LED tape in here, and it's not quite bright enough. So what we're going to be working on right now is we're going to add another strip of LED tape, and I want to do that for you guys on camera here. For those of you who have not seen or worked with LED tape, we're going to show you really quick how to do that. So I've got some of my warm white here, and we're going to cut out a little piece that's the same length as that guy, and just double it up, and I think our lighting will be just about right on this. Should be this length right here should work. Again, mentioning before that you want to pay attention on this tape because these are in segments here, and you want to cut where these little terminal marks are, where you can see where you have these little copper contacts. If you cut anywhere in the middle of those, you'll wipe out the piece because you've cut through the circuit. Each one of these little segments has its own built-in resistor that you can see right there. And so if you go, if you cut through in the wrong spot, it won't work anymore. So let's get this ready to go. We've got our solder iron warmed up here, and we'll put a little solder on this and connect a couple wires. Now, when you first start working with this stuff, it can be a little frustrating because you've got to learn how to control the solder. You don't want to get too much solder on this, but just keep working with it, and you'll get it figured out. There's just it'll come to you naturally after a while because you don't want a big glob of solder on there. These contacts are really small. Just give my iron a chance to get going. There we go. And you're just going to put a tiny little dab on here, enough for that wire to make contact. Oop, got a little. I'm going to have to replace the cord on my iron here pretty soon. It's got a little bad spot, and if I turn it a certain way, it cuts out. There you go. This thing's got a lot of miles on it. Okay, come on, baby. There we go. She's warming up. Okay, so you just want to barely get your tip wet with a little bit of solder there and just kind of touch it on there. Make a tiny little ball, something like that. And again, that takes a little bit of practice, so don't get frustrated. Just keep working with it, and you'll figure that out. Now, before we can attach our wires, we've got to figure out which polarity is which here. Some of these brands of LED tape are marked plus and minus, and some aren't. And this one doesn't happen to be marked, so we got to figure it out. So I've got my power supply here, and I'm just going to touch these leads on here to see which way it lights up. Okay, so we've got our plus is on the right hand side here, so we want to make sure we pay attention to that. Put our red wire on the right. Just using a little bit of this 30 gauge wrapping wire. And this will just take a quick little touch and we'll get that soldered on. Always want to give that a good little tug when you get, after you connect it, to make sure that it's on there good. Cut that excess wire off. And we'll put our black wire on so we have our plus and minus. Okay, I'm kind of cut this equal length here, approximately. All right, so that's that. Now we're ready to mount our strip, and so we've got this adhesive backing that just peels right off. Now, one thing I want to mention on this is that although this backing is, you know, pretty sticky, I don't trust it. I never do. I'm always afraid that it could possibly, you know, come apart and let go later on. And inside my model, if it fell down in there, you know, it would really be a problem. So basically what I do is I stick it down on there really good, get it all nice and flat, and then I'll take some CA glue, which I've got right here, and I'll just put a couple little drops on the edges and up where the ends are on the terminals. Just to give it that little extra bit of security. I've got my zip kicker here. I'll just kind of hit it real quick. And that takes care of that. So we won't ever have to worry about that coming apart or coming loose. And we're going to go ahead and connect these up. As I mentioned, this has its own resistors built in, so you don't need to worry about a resistor. You can connect these directly to power. They'll run anywhere from 7 volts on up to, I think there's a limit how high they will go, but it's pretty high, but you'll probably never go that high building them in a model. I'm usually running them between 9 and 12 volts DC. And we went ahead and connected these to the plus and minus of our wires that's already in there. Now keep in mind this is all going to get cleaned up and put away before we seal the model, but now we can test it. I'm going to connect my power. And we've got our lighting going on. We got nice 2 strips of lighting there, and we'll turn it over and show you guys how it looks. And there we go. We've got our nice little warm white lighting coming out of the back of the shuttle, which is the way I chose to do mine. Now you can do yours if you were doing one of these in blue or red or however you want to do it. This is the way they had it looking on the original television show, just a, you know, a warm white light coming out of there, not any kind of color. But so there we have it. That made that look quite a bit better. It needed just to be a little bit brighter than what it was, so I'm really happy with that. So we got that figured out, and I'll be moving on, doing some more work on this. I'll put out another video this week once I get my control boards in from Tenna Controls, and I'll give you guys another update on the channel. So we'll kind of move the shuttle out of the way here, and we're going to have a look at these nifty little SMDs that we got from Jerry. And just to give you an idea, we have these in the size of 06, which is very, very tiny. And I'll pull one out of the bag here and you guys can see this. Like I said, a lot of you watching are very familiar with these, but we like to show the new folks out there what's available, and so you're not intimidated by these things. They're very easy to work with. You can see they come in this basic harness here. As I mentioned, they're all pre-wired. They have their own resistor on there, so there's no rocket science to figure these out. You basically connect the plus side to the resistor side here, and the other side's the ground. So you can connect these directly to power, and they light right up. So let's go ahead and pull one of them off of here. If I can figure out which one it is. There we go. And we're going to throw some power to this and show you. Now, it mentions here that this is a 1.5 hertz. That's the indication of the speed that this will flash at. So let's go ahead and power this guy up. I'm going to run it at 9 volts. And what I really like about this is that get my connection here. May have to strip this wire a little bit. There we go. You can see it blinking. And that's at 1.5 hertz, so that's the blink rate on it. And this one happens to be a regular white. And like I said, these are ideal for doing, you know, cockpit lighting, or, you know, instrument panel lighting, or, you know, you can come up with a lot of ideas for this. And they're super tiny and easy to work with. They'll fit in some really tight places. Worked out perfect for this interior of the shuttle I was working on here. But we also have the exact same thing here, which I won't bother to light that, but we also have the exact same thing in a warm white, which is more of a, you know, subdued white, which I actually prefer because it especially if you're going to use like fiber optics like I did inside the shuttle. I took regular Tamiya transparent green, transparent red, and amber on some of those, and dipped my little tips of fiber optics in those colors, and then have the light, you know, a white light behind it flashing, which gives the illusion that they're all, you know, different colors of LEDs in there flashing. But the warm white doesn't wash out the colors on my fiber optics as much. The regular white seems to be too bright, and it just makes, I found that the warm white makes it look more rich. The colors don't get washed out as much, and there wasn't a flashing warm white LED available before that I'm aware of. Even in a regular LED, they were always the standard white, which you know, was kind of frustrating. So now we have a nice warm white that flashes, and it's an SMD, which I'm almost exclusively working with SMDs. I very rarely use regular LEDs anymore. So we have that. We also have the same thing here in 0606 in blue that flashes. Let's see, same thing there. We have the fast flashing RGB. This is an 0805. It's slightly bigger, but still, as you can see here, incredibly tiny. Let's have a look at one of these, and we'll show you what this does. Now, in that little shot you saw of the interior of the flight console of the Galileo, I used a slow changing and a fast changing mixed together, so that it gives a really cool effect of they start off kind of synchronized, but then the flashing one starts, the fast one starts getting ahead, and they start changing colors differently. So it starts kind of mixing the colors, and you wind up getting this kind of infinite combination of colors. You know, red mixing with blue to make it purple, and, you know, so on and so on. So that worked out really great. So you can just kind of use your imagination and play around with these things. And if you're doing a flying sub or something like that, you know, that reactor wall in there, these are perfect for that. So let's go ahead and get this one lit. Show you how pretty this is. I really love the way these look. As you can see here, we've got the color changing going on. See how that goes through the fast cycling after it starts out. Very, very cool. So you've got animation going on there without the need for a control board, and it's just amazing to me, the technology, that there's actually a chip, you know, a chip that's inside something that small that's creating that effect. So that's just fantastic. So you've got all these different ones that are available. That was our fast changing one. There's also the slow, which basically does the same thing, but you know, at a much slower rate. So as I said, you can kind of mix and match these together and have a lot of fun and create your own special effects. So I think that's a wrap for this segment, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, you can find these products at www.hdamodelworks.com. Our good friend Jerry over there has really great prices on this stuff, and as many of you guys have dealt with Jerry, you know that his service and everything is great. So you order the stuff, you'll get it really quick. I'm really happy and thankful for everything Jerry does, and thanks, Jerry, for sending these out to show everybody. So we're going to take a quick break, everybody. Come back, and we'll have a look at some other new stuff that we got from Jerry, and that's the green strawberry Photo-Etch and Arboretum detail set for the 1/350 scale Enterprise refit. Be back with that in just a couple seconds, everybody. Okay, everybody, well, here we have another new product that's come out from Green Strawberry. Now, a lot of you guys in the modeling world might know that they're a new and up-and-coming company in the Photo-Etch business, and Jerry at HDA Modelworks is an exclusive USA distributor of this stuff. And so Jerry sent me a sample over of these new parts for the 350 scale Enterprise refit and wanted me to share them with you guys. So we'll go ahead and pull these out of the package and have a look. Start off with the Photo-Etch set itself here, which is all the detail parts for mostly the exterior of the Enterprise refit. There are some parts in here for the shuttle bay detail as well. And some of you guys have been familiar with the paragraphic set that's been out there for quite a few years. There's some additional parts that we don't get in the paragraphic set, and there's some parts that you get in the paragraphic set that you don't get in this. So you're probably going to want to, if you want to really trick out your 350 scale refit, you're probably going to want to have both of these sets. But there's some nice stuff here. Let's pull everything out and have a look. You guys are seeing it for the first time as well as me. I'm not sure what all is in this package here. Just some information, a little bit of instructions here, placement guide. So let's have a look and see where everything goes. Okay, so you've got two sets here. You've got some detail for the, we have all the hangar bay detail here, these girders that we're kind of familiar with that come on the paragraphic set, the railings. Let me see if I can figure out where some of this stuff goes. We've got some detail parts for the worker bees, the impulse engine grills, the tail ends and the nacelles, the deflector dish ring. On the instructions here, I'm seeing some details for the Arboretum. We have some really tiny miniature park benches that you can build and put in there, which is a neat little touch, something we didn't have before. The walls and the details for the sides of the shuttle bay. I was wondering what these are. Very cool. We didn't have these before. These pieces right here are a wrap for the, if I can get a little closer, these are a wrap for the turbo lifts that we see inside the shuttle bay, which we always had a hell of a time painting those before. So, focus camera. There you go. So those basically wrap around there, so now you can just pre-paint that. There's a picture of the finished product there. Get that a little closer for you. That's pretty slick. I like that. Got some really, really nice. I noticed that the detail on these docking rings here and airlock detail doors are really, really nice. So we've got that, and then we've got our rec deck detail here. Oh, my camera's having a really hard time focusing for some reason. There we go. We've got the rec deck detail here. We've got the ceiling for that, worker bee details. Some of these things are the same parts that were on the paragraphic set, but yeah, here's our little park benches. You can see those right there, really tiny. So this is a really nice set. So you, as I said, you may want, if you want every little thing available, there's some figures here, of course, just 2D figures in 1/350 scale to put around the various locations on your model, maybe in the officer's lounge or the Arboretum. So there's a lot here, but not everything is there that you get on the paragraphic set as well. So you may want to supplement both sets if you want to get everything possible for the Photo-Etch on both of these kits. But just the quality of the Photo-Etch itself is fantastic. The etching detail on here is absolutely beautiful. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and it's always amazing to me the work that they can do on this stuff. There's some kind of texturing going on the little caps here for the ends of the nacelles, which I don't think is there on the paragraphic set, so a little extra detail there. Really beautiful. And Green Strawberry is really expanding their line, so you'll see a lot more from them. And as I mentioned, you can get that exclusively through Jerry at HDA Model Works here in the US. So now let's take a look at our little Arboretum kit and see what kind of goodies we get in that. This kit will allow you to fully detail your little Arboretum, which is really cool. Here we have the Photo-Etch details themselves. We've got some decals, and we've got the detail for the walls of the Arboretum all been updated. And our little park bench details there. The stairs for the bridges, the railings for the bridges, and some airlock doors. Very cool. But I think one of the most interesting things that we have here is we now actually get our landscaping detail included, where you don't have to go out and buy that stuff separately, and it's the correct scale. So here they're basically just talking about how you make little modifications and add the walls onto the existing parts. and where everything goes. Got your bridge and your railings. And then we've got all of our landscaping details. So you get this kind of gravel looking stuff here for your pathways. And then you get your green for the green kind of grass area. And then you got some really cool in-scale trees that you just mount in various places here and there to give that park-like look. So how cool is that? That's really cool. You get everything you need to completely detail your arboretum. So this is a very nice little set. You can make all your little grass effects there, and you've got a few clumps in here too that you could make a few shrubs here and there, big and small. And looks like there's more than enough material here to do the whole thing. So that's really cool. I don't think this has been officially announced yet at Green Strawberry, so if you want more information about pricing and availability on this, just contact Jerry at HDA Model Works and he'll get you set up. So that is really nifty. That's a nice little kit for the Enterprise refit. And now you don't have to go buy. I remember when I did mine, a couple of the builds that I did, I had to go out and get all that stuff separately and try to find the right scale too. So there you go, guys. All at 1/350 scale. Little Arboretum detail set. So I hope you enjoyed that. Quick look at that stuff. And that's all we have for you on the bench tonight, guys. We're going to come back here just a second and head on over to our shout outs for tonight, see who's here, and then we're going to have our Q&A session where we're going to discuss the upcoming 48-hour build and see what kind of feedback we get on that. See you for that in just a couple seconds, guys. Be right back. Okay, back with you again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed what we had for you tonight. We're going to head over now to our shout-outs and Q&A. Let's see who's all here tonight. We've got Eric Hawkins. Nice to see you, Eric. Phil Sprueworks, Dan Harris, Chris Farrell, PJC 2.0, Tenant Controls. Hey, Ralph, good to see you, buddy. Red Shirt Forever, Rocket Boy 1969, Mark Shue, Gadgetron 3000, 2000 SPQR, Cal Sweets here, Omar, Red Shirt Forever, Dan Harris, the Captain, NASCAR and Broncos fans, Chris Farrell, Barrack 13. Leona Timber Company is with us tonight. James Frost, the master paper modeler himself. Mark Shue. Dadnator 24, nice to see you, Rick. George Vilkowski. Brian Knowles, John Petrie. Outsider 238. Gary Jacquard. Shannon Freeman. Doug Schramm, the captain. Johnny's Chop Shop. Lord Tozar. Triskelion. Hey, nice to see you, Adam. I hope you're doing well. If you guys are out there watching, make sure to type something in the chat box there, and we'll give you a shout out. Got TFP, Jack the Ripper X. Got 104 people watching right now. Good turnout tonight, guys. Appreciate that. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, we're going to start talking about in a minute here about our 48-hour group build. But if anybody has any questions, go ahead and fire them up for either me or anybody else out here that can answer it. Got a few more people checking in. David Start, Doug Schramm. Armando's here tonight, DLC Model Builders. Armando's building one of those giant Star Destroyer kits. Derek Sabora's here. Omar's here. Wyron Wood. Modeler X. Barry Steinlich. Got a few more people popping in. Got Chuck Brooks on with us tonight. Roger Ball. Big Stats. Federation Shipyard, nice to see you, Dennis. Yeah, as I mentioned, guys, I see a few people asking questions about that green strawberry stuff that we showed tonight. You can get that through Jerry at HDA Modelworks. That's www.hdamodelworks.com. I believe Jerry is the exclusive U.S. distributor for green strawberry, so he'll carry everything that they have there, and you'll get a great price on it. When I'm told there's going to be even more cool stuff coming out pretty soon. Jabberwocky, nice to have you with us. I think he's probably new. Nice to have you. And I hope you're enjoying the chat session with all of our friendly modelers here. Omar's asking a question about creating the channels in the resin. I'll show you guys really quick here. Let me grab this stuff. I have, it's really very basic. I have this little handheld Dremel tool, which right now has a sanding drum on it, but when you buy your Dremel accessory set, you get these little bits right here, these little, I call them a knurling bit. You just have kind of an acorn-shaped tip on the end there. You get both a kind of a medium-sized one and a small one. I usually use the medium-sized one and just put that in the chuck here and very carefully just kind of start off and start working a line, you know, working my way through. You have to be careful, you know, you have to pay attention to how thick your material is. You don't want to go all the way through it, but fortunately on this Galileo kit, the resin was fairly thick in most of the areas, so I just basically grind my way along, making it as deep and as wide as I need to, and it works both on styrene and resin, so that's basically it. Of course, your regular Dremel tool will work just as well. I hope this thing never dies on me because they don't make these anymore, and this little Dremel stylus has just been awesome. I think they do make a pistol grip attachment for the regular Dremel now, and they discontinued this one. But yeah, on some of these kits, you just gotta figure out a way to work around with what you've got, and then go ahead and cover it all back up with putty or whatever you want to use when you're done. Lord Tozar is asking, where do I get the rods that we use to mount the models and run the wires? They're just hollow brass tubes, Lord Tozar, and you can get those. A lot of times they actually carry them at your local hobby store or your local hardware store. I know they carry not all the sizes, but they have a lot of sizes at like either Michael's or Hobby Lobby if you have one of those in your area, or you can check your local hobby store. The local hobby store I have, which is a Hobby Town USA, they have the whole selection of them in there. Everything from like, I think the biggest size they go up to is like a 1/2 inch, all the way down to like super, super tiny. And you just cut them to length, the size that you want, and there you go. Yeah, Roger is asking about the sound of the microphone. I'm using this headset tonight, Roger, because the fans are on in the shop. It's really hot in here, and I didn't want to hear. Hopefully it's cutting down on that noise a little bit. Dennis, yes, I did see the movie. It's good to see it again. Looked like it was the restored version too, so it looked really good. He's talking about the movie The Car, which is one of my favorites, and he put a little notice on our page earlier this week that it was going to be on, so I did catch it, Dennis. Thanks for the heads up on that. It looked really good. It's, not the best acting in the world on that movie, but it's all about the car. I've got Thomas Johnson here, Herman Oliva. No, I have not done the De Agostini Falcon, Herman. I never did sign up for that. I've got the, you can't see it, but behind me up on my shelf, I've got the Fine Molds 172 scale kit I'm going to be building at some point. And I'm looking to get a hold of one of the new master grade kits from Bondi, the 172 Falcon they're going to release, because they're different. The new master grade kit is going to be modeled off of the way the ship looked in the first film, and the 172 fine scale or fine molds kit is different. It's made to look like it looked in The Empire Strikes Back and all that. So it takes a lot of time to build one of those. I know I have a few modeling friends that are doing the D'Agostini, and that's an awesome kit. But you have to sign up for months and months worth of gathering the parts. Right, yeah, there's a couple people commenting here that there are several different kinds of these, similar tools to this Dremel. I think there's Tamiya or somebody out there makes one that actually turns really, really slow too for doing special applications, But the main thing you want to do when you get one of these is make sure if they do make it or it's available, get yourself the adjustable chuck. Originally, this came with a, just an arbor on there that you had to change out every time you changed to a different size tool or and it was really a pain in the neck. So this adjustable chuck is a really nice little addition to put on there to make it a lot more user friendly. Omar just wondering how to keep a straight line with using a bit like that. I've just gotten a knack for doing it, Omar, but you could lay down a piece of tape or something and just kind of use that as a guide, you know. Uh, it, it just, I've just done it so much that I've just gotten used to it. And most of the stuff that I'm doing on like that, I don't need to worry about making everything perfect. It's just getting a trench in there because usually I'm going to cover it back up. So it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just scrolling through here, guys, to see if I didn't miss anything. Right, and NASCAR and Broncos fans is pointing out that you can also, if you want to mount your models, you can also go to your Lowe's or Home Depot, and if you go in the lamp section, they have these little lamp repair kits, and they sell the threaded rod that goes inside there. You know, the really small brass threaded rod that has a nut washer and a jam nut on there, and you can use those to mount the models. When I first started doing this, that's what I was working with, but I pretty much don't use them anymore. I really don't like the look of the threads on there, and some of them are, you know, pretty thick. You want to, you know, whatever rod you use, you want to keep it sort of in scale with what you're mounting. In other words, if it's a, you know, really small model, you don't want to have a really big, huge, thick rod on there. And unless, of course, you have a lot of wires that you got to pass through, and that's the only thing that'll fit, you know. But on the threaded rod, you can also get little plastic covers for those that cover them up, you know, cover up the threads. And you can paint it or whatever, you know, even like PVC tubing, that will work as a cover. But they do make little decorative covers for that you can get in plastic or even brass. Right, Omar is mentioning when you're working with resin to practice safety. When you're working with resin and you're doing grinding and creating a lot of dust, or if you're sanding, you definitely want to wear a respirator. That resin dust is not good at all. It's very potent stuff, so yeah, you definitely, and even, you know, sometimes even gloves are a good idea because some people's skin is really sensitive to it. Fortunately, I haven't ever had an issue with that, but it does affect people in different ways. Some potent stuff. Looks like John's got to turn in for the night. Thanks for joining us, John. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Greg Bryan's asking about our 48-hour build. I haven't made a decision on that, Greg, and we're going to start talking about it right now. So we got quite a bit of feedback on the page. I posted some information about it. One suggestion I threw out there was police subject, and then we had all kinds of other interesting subjects that came up. The conversation ranged from anywhere from, you know, all kinds of different subjects all the way to like not having a specific subject at all. Well, one thing that I will say is when we do a group build, we're always going to have a subject. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it gets kind of everybody on the same page, and the whole idea of having a group build is everybody's kind of working on something similar, and you have a time frame. You know, in this case, it's going to be 48 hours. So when we choose a subject for a 48-hour build, we have to kind of keep in mind that you know, it's a limited amount of time, so we're not going to be building, you know, a Millennium Falcon fully lit in 48 hours. So we have to kind of fit something in there. To give you guys an idea, right now I'm still leaning towards the police subject, but I think somebody threw a good idea out there, and that's maybe include fire and rescue with the police subject. So if we did police or fire and rescue, that would be quite a wide range of subjects that we could cover. Now, keep in mind, don't just think generic police like, a black and white police car. You can do sci-fi police subjects, like for example, the Mad Max car is a police car. It's a futuristic police car. The Spinner from Blade Runner. I'm just trying to give you guys an idea of what I'm thinking here. You have a wide variety of subjects with police, fire, and rescue. Boats, helicopters, planes, cars, figures. RoboCop is actually technically a policeman, so you've got, you don't want to think of it strictly as, black and white police car. That's kind of my thinking right now. We're gonna let the discussion go on for a little bit. We got a little bit of time before we're gonna start on it. I'm thinking the third week of August, and then we would end it, at the beginning of the month in September. We'd have, over a weekend. We'll have started off on a Friday night at midnight, like we always do, and then it ends on Sunday, or actually Monday at 12:01 a.m. So you have 2 full days, 48 hours to work on it. And again, when if you're thinking about getting into this, consider the amount of time it's going to take. And if you don't finish it on time, it's no big deal. This is not a contest. It's just for fun, and you can pick something that's relatively simple to build and just have some fun with it. Or if you want to pick something more complicated, and at least get started on it, and then show us some of your progress when we have our slideshow that we'll put together for everybody that participated in it. That's fine too. No pressure to get it finished. Just the idea is just to have some fun. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff out there. And then, we'll be doing several of these down the line. So there'll be plenty of different subjects that we'll get into. Maybe the next one will be some type of a sci-fi. We've got Halloween coming up here, believe it or not, before too long. So we may look at some kind of group build for Halloween this year again. And, of course, that covers a huge, wide variety of subjects as well. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now, guys. But I appreciate all the input. We got some great ideas that came in that I've written down for later. And yeah, Batman is definitely would qualify as police. So there you go. You got all kinds of Batman stuff out there. And as I said, the idea of it is that we work on something that maybe is out of your comfort zone a little bit, something you haven't tried before, and we're all working on it together. Something kind of similar. If we just had everybody working on everything that they wanted to, that's what we do all the time. So this is supposed to be something kind of unique. Looks like everyone's kind of agreeing on that one, so that's probably what we'll go with. A couple more people checking in. Fernando Acosta, Alpha Trion 92, YouTube. Jeff Black, Ace Scale Modeling. Yeah, there you go, Doug. Blue Thunder, that's definitely a police vehicle. That'd probably be my pick if I hadn't already built it. Yeah, so we'll. I think we'll go with police and fire and rescue. So you got ambulances, you got rescue vehicles, off-road vehicles, stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. Red Shirt Forever says if he can find the Smokey car from Smoking the Bandit. Yeah, you have the, somebody mentioned it last show, you have the Roscoe car from Dukes of Hazzard. That kit's actually out there. Um, so there's a lot of existing kits. Yeah, the T-1000 Terminator, he made himself look like a policeman, so that would work. There's some really nice vinyl kits of that guy out there that are actually really cheap, and you could easily do a weekend build on one of those. Not real complicated. So there we have it, guys. Anybody has any more questions, go ahead and fire away. Got Michelle Bennett. Haven't seen Michelle in a while. Nice to see you, Michelle. Yeah, and we may do a NASCAR one at some point, Mark. That's a good subject. I've got tons of NASCAR kits. I like building those. Rob Pauza is asking, what's the best source to make or print custom decals? Well, that's not my, I don't do a lot of that, Rob. There's maybe some other people here that could give you some advice. Whenever I need anything custom made, I get it from my friend Jerry at HDA Model Works. He's really good at doing that. I have printed some off, just real basic little markings and stuff that I needed on certain things on my regular printer here, but the printer I have is not a super high resolution, so it's limited as far as what I can do. But you can buy the regular decal paper and print your own decals. Some people make a scan and a copy of every decal set they get with their model in case something goes wrong, which is always a good idea. I always think about that after it's too late. Got Modeler Exit checked in. NASCAR Bronco fans were wondering if I had checked out. Oh, I've checked out all the builds, NASCAR. I don't get as much time as I used to have. I'm just super busy here in the shop, but whenever I get a few minutes, I hop around and look at what everybody's doing, that's for sure. It never ceases to amaze me, the creativity and the talent that everybody has out there for building models. And one of my favorite things that I'll see is when either after having seen one of my videos or just having found the modeling community in general, that somebody either has just discovered the hobby or they're returning to the hobby, and that what we're all doing out here has inspired them to get back into it. That's the best statement that I see out of them all. It's just great to get people involved, and especially if they're if they're enjoying it and it's not frustrating for them because people are helping them and things like that. Looks like Dennis has got to check out for tonight. Thanks for joining us, Dennis. We'll see you next time. Johnny's Chop Shop asks if I have used Mission Models paint. No, I have not, Johnny. Haven't tried that. Jeff Black's got to check out as well. We'll see you next time, Jeff. Omar's out of here too. Looks like it's about time to wind things down, folks. So yeah, I'll put something up on the page again about the decision we have on the 48-hour group build, and then we can go from there so you guys can get going and start picking out your kits. Hopefully we'll have a good turnout. I know it's kind of tough this time of the year. It's summertime. Everybody's busy with their families and everything. But, you know, the more people we get, the better. It should be a lot of fun. And again, don't look at it as something like, you know, that people are going to look down on you if you don't finish it. It's not about that at all. Just jump in and do what you can. You know, you don't have to go out and get a really big, expensive kit, like I said, and it doesn't have to have lighting or anything like that. Just, you know, quick little build and have fun with it, and something different. So I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do. Something I've been wanting to do for a while. We'll see how that works out. I got to gather a couple of parts, I think, if I decide to do that, that don't come with this particular kit, but we'll see how that works out. So again, thanks for being here. We had a great time, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the chat session. For those of you that are new with us, thanks for joining us, and I hope you'll come back and see us again. Great group of people in here. Don't forget, stop by at our Google community page. That's the Model Shop on Google+. Join in our community if you haven't already. We've got a lot of nice people over there building anything and everything. It's welcome to everybody. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free to join. All we ask is that you just treat everybody with respect when you get in there, and share what you're working on, and just have fun. So that's all there is to it. Pretty simple. You guys take care then. We'll catch you next time. And like always, everybody, good night and happy modeling. And I'll have a update on the TrekWorks channel a little bit later this week on this Galileo too, when I get some more electronics in here and start getting the hull put together. So thanks for checking that out as well, guys. You guys take care, and good night, everybody. Happy modeling.